Hey everyone, Tanya aka Tandall here, and today I have the latest installment of my work in progress piece, After the Rain. And today I am working on the purple hair. The colors I used in the purple part are violet, parma violet, and lavender. I had an extremely hard time getting back into this piece. This video is a little bit longer because the purple area took me a lot longer. I start off in this video working on some of the pink that I didn't get to in the last one, and after I finished the pink area I took about a week and a half away from drawing because of some personal issues that have been going on. And when I finally got back to drawing, I kind of lost my in the zone, so to speak, so I had to find it again. And that's why this video took a little bit longer. There'll be a section coming up that took me an excruciating amount of time just because I was unable to get back into the swing of how I draw. I was very distracted. So anyway, this is the area right here that really started giving me some problems. I was also trying to play around with the lighting again to try to get a better disbursement of light so that it didn't become a distraction, but as you could probably tell, there's a glare in the upper left hand corner. Yeah, right there. So I'm sorry if that's a distraction. I'll try to keep playing with light to finish this one out, to make it a little less of a distraction, and for future pieces hopefully I can find a sweet spot where it won't cause what I've been calling that disco effect where the light is bouncing off of my hand, kind of, you can see it right there, and also it won't create a glare, because whenever I work like this it creates a very shiny surface on the paper because all of the stress I put on the paper from how many layers and how many times I go back over it, taking color out and putting it back in, it burnishes the paper so it becomes very shiny, and that's why it's glaring so bad up there. But in this piece I'm moving on to the purple, and those colors I mentioned previously are the base coat. All I'm doing here essentially is using my aquarelle white pencil for taking color out, and then just using violet to put it back in. Every once in a while I use a different color, like there are a couple of, like right there I needed some processed red just to even things out, and in other places I think I add blue or another of the purples, but it depends on what colors I need to blend. But for the most part I'm just using the violet and the aquarelle pencil, and all I do is essentially make sure I have a really sharpened pencil with my aquarelle, make sure there's a very, very fine point on it, and I go in and I dab color out. I'm literally tapping the paper with my pencil, just taking little bits of color out at a time. And sometimes I take too much out, so I have to go back in with my purple and put color back where I took too much out in, and just keep going back and forth until I get the smooth blend that I want. And really this area right here took me so long to do. Usually I spend a lot of time doing this process, as I've mentioned it before. It's worth it to me personally just because I love the process of it. It's enjoyable, so I do it this way. I get frustrated whenever I try to do the same effect but with a different technique and colored pencils, so I just stick with what I find most enjoyable. And at this point I'm kind of getting back into my zone, so it goes a little bit more quickly after this point. Oh yeah, as I was saying, I can spend up to like 5 hours on a square inch, and usually that is because I am having a hard time finding my rhythm, you know. And I mean, it happens sometimes, even though I've been doing this for so many years. It still happens, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it just happens, you know. And when it happens, I just keep on until I get it back. And as you can see, it's going a little bit faster. It's set at the same speed, but once I'm in the zone, I can really start chugging along a little bit more quickly. So really, that one small area took me about half the amount of time the rest of the area of purple did, just because, you know, I was, you know, like I said, had some things going on, so I was very distracted and I was unable to concentrate the level that I needed to. But things are calming down, so hopefully I'll be able to stay in my zone by drawing every day. And that's the best way. That's the only thing I can offer as advice to anyone who's like, how do you draw? Well, you do it every day, with the intention of doing better on your newer piece than you did on the last one. Or trying something different, you know, testing what you're able to do and seeing how it works. And if it doesn't work for you, then try another way, you know. Experimenting is how I came up with this technique. In high school, my favorite things to use were colored pencil and then also oil pastel. A lot of my pieces were one or the other. And one day I had the bright idea of adding them together, and it was pretty much the birth of this process. The first piece I did like this was a complete mess. I don't have it. I think I gave it to a friend in high school, but just over the course of time, I just kept with it, you know, and changed what I used as a blender. I used to use colorless blender, and then I started using very thin whites. And then one day when I was working in a tattoo shop, I ran out of my very thins. So one of the tattoo artists, he had to make a stop at Hobby Lobby, so he asked if I needed anything, and I asked him to pick me up a very thin. Well, they didn't have any, so he brought these aquarelles, and he's like, this is the only thing I could find. He said the pencil tip looked similar, so why not to give it a shot? And sure enough, it was a blessing in disguise to have for the store to have run out what I actually use, so I could try something new. And although I still keep very thin whites on hand for blending, there's something about the aquarelle that really lets me blend better. I'm not sure if it's just the different lead type, because aquarelle are watercolor pencils, or if it's just how firm it is compared to very thin. It seems like I'm able to keep a sharper point on the aquarelle. That's probably what it is. They're also easier to sharpen. They don't break nearly as much as Prismacolors do, because Prismacolors are notorious for just leads breaking off everywhere. As you can see, I bounce around everywhere when I'm working on a piece. I'm over here, I'm over there, and what it is my camera only records 15 minutes at a time, so I actually have to stop drawing so that I can start a new recording. And so sometimes when I do that, I don't exactly remember where I was, and my eye gets distracted by another area that needs work, so I just go over there. And then when I start scanning over my piece, I notice another area that I didn't finish, so I skip back over there. And then other times I notice little splotches of color that get picked up in other parts that I've already finished, so I have to go in and tap those out so that they don't stay there if I forget, because I'm pretty bad about forgetting stuff. Oh boy, yeah, I didn't have my camera set up very well right there. Sorry about that. I also have a really rigged up setup for my camera. It's actually a homemade stand made from I don't remember what they're called, but my husband got me one of those things people keep in their cars for their cell phones. It's like a sticky pad on a little pedestal thing. Well, I have one of those, and I have a heavy metal clamp that I clamp that to my board with. And then I had to take a piece of masonite board, cut a hole out of it with my Dremel in order to make a hole for the camera to poke its little head through. And I have rubber bands holding the camera to this piece of masonite that I have rubber banded? Well, I just made that word up. But anyway, rubber banded to the little pedestal thing I was just talking about. And I also have some designer duct tape holding stuff together. It's the bandana flavor of designer duct tape. So yeah, my rig, maybe I should do a video of how my rig setup is. It's kind of funny, but it's very me because I'm kind of a weirdo, and it's definitely a weird setup, so it suits me really well right now. But the downside of it is my camera doesn't stay in the same spot. It bounces around a little bit, but until I can get a better setup, it is what it is. And you know, I have to sit in the living room to draw. You know, I sit on the couch and I draw with a little like lap desk that I have all this rig set up to. And I don't really have an actual designated place to draw, so I just draw wherever I am. And I mean, it works fairly well. It's not the worst setup, it's not the best by any means, but you know, it is what it is for now, and hopefully in the future I can have a nice little area that's just like all professional and really, really sweet, and I could be like, look what I have, yo. But as for now, I might show a little video of how I have my setup, because it's, I don't know, it's kind of funny. I think people might get a kick out of it, because you know, sometimes you don't have to have a whole lot. It's called making do. As my great Aunt Lena used to say, eat what you got and sing what you know. And that just means be happy with what you've got and make it work. So that's what I'm doing right now. As long as I get to draw, I'm good. I've been having a lot of fun with this piece. I really like drawing here. I like the way I stylize it. I don't know, it just works for my pieces and my portfolio, and just, you know, the patterns you could put in the hair for shiny and stringy and all that stuff, you know. Gosh, I sound like an idiot today, but you know me, I am like such a master of the English, not English language. See, case in point. I'm almost done with this area. As you can see there, I just added some blue because I'm getting into like the blue area, which will be the next video. And that one should not take so much time. Sometimes certain colors are more cooperative than others. I'm not really sure why that is. But it's probably just my mood or something. It's probably nothing to do with the actual color. And anyway, that is it for this installment. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions specifically about how I work in colored pencil, please do not hesitate to ask. Just leave me a comment or shoot me a private message and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. I really appreciate you watching it, and remember, keep on creating, everyone.